Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Heselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. Joining us in the Heselson studio, Gary, this is your first time on the show.
It is. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for your debut. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm sure you get this question all the time. Explain to us what the Great Falls Council is, what the merger was. Let's start from the bare minimum.
Absolutely. The Great Falls Council of Scouting America is the Boy Scout council that represents the scouting program throughout 15 counties in the Twin Tiers and Western.
Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. It is a very busy show this morning, and look at this. You can tell, well, normally you'd be saying summer's in the air, and as it's nearly June, but spring kind of in the air. As so many people are out on the street already this morning, we are starting the program with 6 waves. This could be a big day of waves. All right, let's get right to it. We're going to talk about this more in depth later on the program, but we'd be remiss not to mention it right at the beginning. A federal court has shot down most of President Trump's wide-reaching tariffs, ruling the commander-in-chief exceeded his authority when he plowed ahead with one of his signature policies. The 3-judge panel, and we probably, could be wrong, may have never heard of the Court of International Trade located in, where else, Manhattan. They assailed Trump's actions against other countries across the globe as, quote, contrary to law, despite the president claiming emergency powers under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The president claiming that allowed him to impose the duties. The court stated that Congress is typically responsible for issuing tariffs, not the president alone, and that Trump's rationale for the exception to the rule didn't meet the Emergency Act threshold to act unilaterally. The judges determined, and I quote, the president's assertion of tariff-making authority in the instant case, unbounded as it is by any limitation in duration or scope, exceeds any tariff authority delegated to the president under IEEPA. So this was breaking late yesterday. The newest update that we have is at about 11 o'clock last night. We do have many people weighing in on it. Again, we're going to talk about this more in depth later on the program, but there's just a few things I want to get to early on, and then we'll dive into that a little deeper. Also, a big story last night, Elon Musk announced that his time working in the Trump administration as a special government employee is drawing to a close. Now, it's very interesting because it depends on what media outlet you go to. Some outlets act as if this is just a rift in the relationship, that it's over. They don't highlight the fact that under law, this is how long a special government employee is allowed to serve. Now, there is a level of jadedness, I believe, by Musk, but that's on getting things done in Washington. And I think if you spend time in Washington, I can understand why he has that belief, has that feeling. But he tweeted out yesterday, as my scheduled time as a special government employee comes to an end, I'd like to thank President Donald Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending. The DOGE mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government. Now, this is after the New York Times reported that Musk is operating with some distance from Trump with alleged White House officials, claiming that Musk is on good terms with the president, though he is, and I quote, disillusioned with Washington and frustrated with the obstacles he encountered as he upended the federal bureaucracy. And you can understand his frustration. I believe President Trump experienced that frustration in his first term and has worked in ways to kind of play through, for lack of a better word, that disillusionment, that frustration. So we're going to be talking about that as well. Those are two of the big breaking stories this morning. You can weigh in at any time. You don't have to wait for me to talk about it more in depth. We just have so many updates that are so important to get to. Just as kind of a catch-up from yesterday, all week's programs, some of last week's programs. First, let's start the program with just an odd story. We sometimes try to do this just to kind of dip our toe in the water before we get into the heavy topics. This has always kind of fascinated me, and you may not have been aware, but this is one of those, I guess, kind of useless facts that you maybe get sent in your email every once in a while, or you see on some news clip. But until he passed away just the other day, the 10th President of the United States, John Tyler's grandson, yes, just grandson, not great-great-great-grandson, not great-great-grandson, but grandson of the 10th President of the United States, has passed away at the age of 96, 180 years after his grandfather was last in the White House. Harrison Ruffin Tyler, the son of President Tyler's 13th child, passed away Sunday evening at a Virginia nursing home, ending the last living link to an 18th century presidential administration. When he was born on November the 9th, 1928, his father, Lyon Gardner Tyler, was 75 years old. Having children into an older age was a family trait, as President Tyler was 63 when Lyon was born. President Tyler would go on to have 2 more children before he passed away in 1862 at the age of 71. I just found that fascinating. So the grandson of the 10th U.S. President, John Tyler, who left the White House 180 years ago, passing away at the age of 96. Okay, on a positive note, and then to an odd, we're just starting off a little oddball, because I know we're going to be talking about tariffs. I know we're going to be talking about a court that most of us had never heard of, the Court of International Trade. And we're going to be talking more about Elon Musk. But a new poll has come out, and I think this is good news. Great news. And one of the things we talked about when we first kicked off this program was the lack of community involvement, people losing faith in religion, people losing faith, obviously, in political entities. Well, here we are, just 2 years later, and maybe we fixed it. No, we didn't fix it, but we're still trying. After 60 years of devastating cultural losses, Christianity in America is making a comeback. According to John Hirschauer at City Journal, it's due to the unexpected religiosity of Generation Z. With the once rebellious left now dominating schools, workplaces, and popular media, religious faith has become a form of rebellion against a culture that rejects traditional values. And we've talked about this back on the program, not just here on television, but also back in radio days, how being conservative or being a Christian or having those type of values is kind of the punk rock, if you will, of today, almost rebellious. It's rock and roll. Because the problem is with, for instance, rock and roll as it is today, to use that term, you've got the likes of Bruce Springsteen and so many others in this bubble that just push the same far left values over and over and over, and lecture you as they charge you $300 for a ticket to their concert. They lecture you about the wealthy and the oligarchs. And so if you really want to be rebellious, if you really want to be rock and roll, if you really want to be punk rock, you have to be a conservative. You have to have these Christian values, and that's what we're seeing because the left and that woke culture has dominated the education system. So these kids have been growing up with it since essentially the cradle, and they're rebelling. They're rebelling and saying they want to go towards the traditional values, not run away from them. 63%, according to Pew, of Americans now identify as Christian, up from a low of 60% back in 2022. And that's due in part to Generation Z. Quote, attend an Orthodox or traditional Catholic Mass in any major American city, and you'll likely see young men in suits and even women in veils, worshiping much as their great-grandparents did. Christianity still offers teens and young adults a sense of commitment and engagement, something the counterculture never truly could. No, the counterculture, this kind of woke values, just tells you how bad you are at all times, and there's no redemption because of how you were born, for instance. There's no redemption, where Christianity, of course, offers saving. They offer the redemption. They offer an ultimate goal. So I just thought that was an important way to start off the program, something a little bit different, but we don't always have a lot of positive on the program, though we try. I thought that was a refreshing piece from the City Journal. But then to show you that it's not all is well. We've given you some examples, and we're going to talk about it later on the college campuses, and the radicalism still very much alive on college campuses, especially when it comes to the anti-Semitic protests. But here is a new trend. There's a new dream job for young men. This is coming from the Wall Street Journal. Everybody, when they're growing up, thinks about what their dream job is. Well, according to this piece, the new dream job for young men, being a stay-at-home son. You've mocked them as mom's basement dwellers. They prefer the term stay-at-home sons and have a new hero because apparently there's this Jeopardy champion, Brendan Lau, who has a master's degree in political science and won a lot at Jeopardy, won $60,000. But he's also unemployed and lives with his parents. At his request, Jeopardy host Kent Jennings introduced him at the beginning of each episode as a recent graduate and stay-at-home son. He said, I figured even if I lost my first game, at least I could make people laugh. Now, the phrase stay-at-home son was added to the Urban Dictionary back in 2007 as an insult to be hurled at an unmotivated man-child. Lately, though, members of that generation that brought us quiet quitting, if you recall that trend, and lazy girl jobs have embraced the label as an ironic badge of honor. So there you go, the new dream job for young men, stay-at-home son. Take that for whatever it's worth. Where else are you going to get those kind of stories back to back to back? Probably nowhere. We do have, when we come back, quite a few updates on news stories we brought to you throughout the last couple weeks that I think are important to get to. At any point, please weigh in on the majority of Trump's signature tariffs have been blocked by a federal trade court in a ruling last night. Obviously, we've seen this kind of court activism, for lack of a better term, so it doesn't come as a surprise. I guess the one argument you could make is that it took so long is the surprise in this, because we're getting used to these judges. This is just a 3-judge panel at the Court of International Trade in Manhattan making the decisions instead of the president saying that they have the final say, not the voters who overwhelmingly supported the MAGA agenda. And also Elon Musk. Now, that's not a breaking story, and we brought this up on this program time and time again. The law requires that a special government agent does not work past a certain amount of days. We knew that the media, and they've been doing it for a couple months now, have been pushing this idea that Musk says he's almost done, as if it was a negative. But no, it's very much in line with what the law says. But when we come back, more updates, your comments, keep those waves coming in. We're starting out big, gangbusters, with 8 waves. And it's only 6:15, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
outdoors at Current Power Sports in Pine City, New York and Wellsboro, Pennsylvania.
When you think swimming pools, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's offers expert advice, professional service, and a complete line of chemicals and accessories. Replacement liners, motors and pumps, automatic vacuums, skimmers, ladders, steps, and more. Hesselson's has it all. Do you have a chemical question? Come in for Hesselson's free computerized water analysis and the widest selection of chlorine and specialty chemicals. With Hesselson's help, you can clean up any pool problem and swim in sparkling clean water. Let Hesselson's show you how easy it can be to take care of your swimming pool. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Attention, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. on
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, I forgot to mention, we're going to hear from Gary Decker from the Great Falls Council. That's as Comey. Give me just a second. All right, we're back. I saw a little lag there. Apologize. So Kash Patel is angry over James Comey, that seashell incident. Now there are copycats forcing overwhelmed agency to pull agents. Listen to this. Because of the copycats from James Comey's stunt, which again, he never heard of 86. He knew nothing about it. I mean, it was, for Johnny Law, he sure professed his ignorance on a lot of issues. So Patel told Fox News' Brett Baer, do you know how many copycats we've had to investigate as a result of the beachside venture from the former director? He indicated that the uptick in potential threats against President Trump since Comey's May 15th post has been so substantial that the FBI has had to redirect significant resources, including agents focused on child sex crimes and drug trafficking, just to investigate them. And this was also James Comey could, in his mind, stay relevant so he could get asked to be interviewed on the CNNs of the world, the MSNBCs. He said, do you know how many agents have had to take offline from chasing down child sex predators, fentanyl traffickers, terrorists? Because everywhere across the country, people are popping up on social media and think that a threat to the life of the President of the United States is a joke. And they can do it because Comey did it, setting that precedent, which was 86-47. That's what I've been having to deal with every single day, Patel said. And that's why I'm having to pull my agents off, because Comey thought it was funny to go out there and make a political statement. And this does tie in with, and I didn't mean to jump to this, but there is a really interesting piece that we're not going to have time to get to because we do have to talk about the terrorists being blocked. But Miranda Devine has a piece at the Post that talks about the left's fixation on assassination. The left's assassination obsession is escalating alarmingly and is being tactically endorsed in all the wrong places, with Elon Musk even believing that it may be orchestrated. How else do you explain why the left tech publication Wired has published a story and helpful YouTube video describing how to build a copycat replica of the ghost gun allegedly used by Luigi Mangione to murder United Health CEO Brian Thompson last December? Yes, they actually had basically a how-to tutorial to make an exact clone, as they termed it, of Mangione's Glock-style handgun. YouTube let the video stay up on their platform despite a policy strictly prohibiting content showing how to make firearms, ammunition, or gun accessories. And this comes a week after Israeli D.C. embassy employees Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram were assassinated by an unhinged leftist in Washington, D.C. Don't tell us this is an oversight by YouTube when it cracks down on gun enthusiasts for far less explicit content. After two assassination attempts on Donald Trump during the 2024 election campaign, When Mangione became a cult heartthrob, Musk had to travel with up to 20 armed bodyguards, and even former FBI Director James Comey flirts with assassination memes. We begin to see where this is heading. Popular cultures, social media, and political and media figures on the left have reacted to their political marginalization since Trump's election by fantasizing out loud about assassination or making coded references to their dark desires. And we're not going to talk about this weird fascination with Mangione, even going as far as some calling him a sex symbol. Left-wing journalist Taylor Lorenz, formerly of the Washington Post and the New York Times, personified the Luigi fangirl last month when she gushed that the accused killer seemed morally good and handsome. So when you see this kind of coverage, and I don't want to go through all of it, you can check it out for yourself, but when you see people lionizing Mangione, when you see James Comey sharing these kind of assassination memes, it's leading to a very troubling place, as they're calling it, the assassination culture. In a report last month, Assassination Culture, how burning Teslas and killing billionaires became a meme for political violence. The Institute of Rutgers University's Network Contagion Research says it has migrated from social media into mainstream discourse. It found that 38% of Americans and 55% of those identifying as left of center said assassinating President Trump would be, quote, at least somewhat justified. 31% and 48% of those left of center said the same about Musk. Think of how troubling and terrifying this is. Some 40% of respondents and 58% of those left of center believed it was at least somewhat acceptable to, quote, destroy a Tesla dealership. And as I mentioned, Musk is well aware of the threat. He said on the Joe Rogan Experience back in February, they're making it sound like if you kill me, you're a hero. What they're doing is evil. Continuing, he brought attention to what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, saying for that assassin, it's kind of like that funny looking sport, curling, you know, where they have the stone on the ice and then they throw the stone and then there's something that's like brushing the ice, but you can't touch the stone. All you can do is just change the path of the stone a little bit, but you keep brushing the ice and you can steer that stone right into the bullseye. That's what I think happened in Butler with that assassin. Somebody was brushing the ice. It's a good analogy. That's what all these coy Mangione references are for. They're just brushing the ice. I thought that was a terrifying but poignant statement by not just Elon Musk, but also by Miranda Devine there, showing you how troubling this kind of rhetoric has become. And we point to James Comey, but there's also politicians using violent rhetoric, and it's creating a very unsafe scenario. And I don't like to talk about all doom and gloom here, but it's something that you have to keep in mind as this just grows and grows and even migrates off of social media to everyday conversations. Okay, other updates when we come back. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, that the Court of International Trade in Manhattan has blocked a majority of Trump's signature tariffs. Now, the Trump administration has said they plan to appeal, so this will most likely ultimately be in the hands of the Supreme Court at some point. And these are pretty much all the tariffs that took effect on Liberation Day. Also, Musk's time is coming to an end as a special government employee. That is no surprise. That is the law, time frame wise, but the media is making quite a large deal out of it, suggesting there's some type of rift maybe. I know he was critical of the big, beautiful bill. But again, the timing on this is no surprise. It's not as if he was quitting in the dead of the night because he was outraged. This was the time frame by law that he had as a special government employee. But again, love to hear your thoughts. Keep your waves, keep your comments coming in. We're just getting warmed up here on Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Your tap water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants, it's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
Children learn from our behaviors. They learn what is okay from the adults they see. If you're a distracted driver, chances are they will be too. What kind of driver are you raising?
Scamming is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams, Wednesday, June 4th at the Main Place in Hornell, New York, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and fraud watch tips. Also, the Steuben County Office for the Aging will provide tips on emergency preparedness, June 4th at 12 p.m. To learn more, go to steubencountiny.gov/235.
Migraine strikes. Do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take if allergic or with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after. Side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie can...
We thank our friends at Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. You'll understand why in just a second. I said Box Security instead of Boss Security because we've got some comments coming in. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Mark writes, beatboxing nuns have hit the stage. I saw that. If you're not sure what Mark is referencing there is, I guess you would call it a now viral video of nuns actually beatboxing, rapping. I caught just a small clip of it, but I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Comment from another viewer, just a good morning. Well, hey, good morning. And then Ken writes in. Hey, Ken. Ken says, it's interesting that we had a hollow core of a president who had no idea what was going on. And we had unelected bureaucrats and aides running the country. That's the auto pen. We're learning a lot more about that. There were almost no activist judges on either side of the aisle stopping the Democrats' agenda. Now that we have a president that is more than engaged in securing the borders, removing criminals, bringing jobs back, cutting drug costs, eliminating billions of dollars in waste and fraud, making the world trade fairly with us, getting hostages released, actively trying to stop the wars in Ukraine and Israel. Just to mention a few of the many things he is trying to do for the American people, we now have activist judges coming out of the woodwork to stop him. And makes one wonder, could it be that correcting the downward path of America is not helpful to the financial wealth of our politicians and the people behind the scenes that are pulling their strings? That's a great point, Ken, and there's so much you could dissect in what you had to say there. Number one, yeah, if you want to talk about coming out of the woodwork, before today, how many people were overly familiar with a three-judge panel at the core of international trade in Manhattan that has now blocked Trump's signature tariffs, the Liberation Day tariffs? Also, to your point, that we're learning more and more. There's actually a piece, and I can't remember in my show prep today where I saw it, where there's really no doubt at this point that Biden did not know about some of the climate change laws that were signed under his name but used as auto pen. The auto pen signed it. He wasn't familiar with those climate change initiatives. That was a piece that I kind of stumbled upon today. But yes, there's definitely people behind the scenes that don't, especially when you look at Doge, did not want the cleaning up of the system, of rooting out waste, fraud, and corruption, because people are making money off of that waste, fraud, and corruption. And just like anybody who wants to continue to make wealth or to keep a job, they are going to fight tooth and nail against the agenda to pull that waste, fraud, and corruption back. So you raise a great point, Ken. A couple of quick updates. Brown University has, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about some university things here in a moment. Also, I've got a New York State, just one New York State update that is going to outrage many of you. Fair warning, full disclosure, disclaimer, all of that and more. But before that, Brown University, remember this kid that looked at his tuition and said, what am I paying all this money for? So he sent out a bunch of emails to faculty, staff, employees at Brown University, and it was very Doge-esque. It was Musk. Basically, what did you do this week? And of course, the powers that be, that live in an academic bubble, that are surrounded by yes people making a lot of money, they cannot be questioned. But now, after quite a battle, Brown University has cleared student Alex Shee, as well as the board of the Brown Spectator, of allegations that they violated Brown University's name, licensing, and trademark policies. Yes, they were really grasping for straws to go after this young man, to try to destroy him in some way, because they did not like their, malfeasance being called out, their waste, fraud, and corruption. Let's just use that term. Elite academia is in crisis because of a refusal to accommodate ordinary Americans and an unaccountable class of bureaucrats who treat universities as corporate brands rather than institutions of learning, she told Fox. I think we need to rethink what it means to be elite. Today, elite schools are elitist. I'm fighting for them to be elite in a meritocratic sense, where they're, no wonder he got into Brown, where they are filled with the best and the brightest, not the richest and most well-connected. So good for him. I'm not going to go through that whole, we talked about it extensively, but his whole story. But essentially, again, sending an email to some 3,805 employees who worked at Brown, asking the simple question, what did you do all day? His tuition is like $96,000 a year. So he said, why not? And I know he has pledged in the past to not drop this and even look at other universities and institutions as well. So there's your update. Also, yesterday we brought to you the Harvard professor who lost her tenure, because she lied about data on a study about dishonesty. Yes, the irony is unmistakable, but we learn that the now discredited former Harvard professor, fired from her cushy position for fabricating data on studies focused on dishonesty, was once one of the top earning employees at Harvard. Francesco Gino earned are you ready for this? A staggering $1 million per year as a behavioral scientist at Harvard Business School. And what she lied about was she came up with a hypothesis, and she manipulated data to reach that conclusion, to reach that hypothesis. Instead of just reporting what was actually learned, what was actually studied. I brought to you the fact that there has been nobody at Harvard who had lost their tenure since the 1940s. We don't need to know anything more about this Harvard professor, just that she was making $1 million per year. Now, when we come back, we do have a couple quick Harvard updates on top of that that's more politically aligned. And then that ties in with what locally and statewide SUNY schools, how they're responding to the Trump administration. Then only about 4 or 5 updates before we get back into talking about tariffs, because again, majority of Trump's signature tariffs have been blocked by a federal trade court in the sweeping ruling. Trump's administration said that they will appeal this, so ultimately it will be going to the Supreme Court. Okay, stay with us. See some comments coming in, some waves. We're hitting huge numbers of waves this morning, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I would never forget the picture that I have. I'm the only one that's not smiling. Even though I'm with my close friends, I felt alone. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. When I got Invisalign, I built my confidence. It was the best investment that I could do.
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Skyrizi.
I've got places to go and I'm feeling free. Controlling my Crohn's means everything to me. Control is everything to me.
And now I'm back in the picture. Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks with Skyrizi, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements. Skyrizi helped visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. And with Skyrizi, many were in remission at 12 weeks, at 1 year, and even at 3 years.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or UC.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease. Skyrizi is also approved for ulcerative colitis.
It's the 25th Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning, I watch Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call to
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Wow, bird almost hit us. Contact Boss Security in Horseheads today for all your business and home security needs. And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And let me just say, everybody's in a good mood, or at least in a friendly mood this morning. How about this for a comment? We'll go through viewer comments right now. Good morning, Frank. Have a wonderful day. Well, thank you. Good morning. I hope you have a wonderful day as well. That's very nice of you. Comment from, oh, wow, we got a lot of comments coming. Okay, comment from a different viewer. Good morning. Well, good morning. 1 million divided by 52 equals a couple $100,000, over $19,000. How is a behavioral psychologist worth anywhere near that weekly salary? Well, clearly she wasn't specifically, but I would agree. What are you doing for the betterment of society, or at least the betterment of your university, to earn nearly $20,000 a week? Great question. Yeah, great question. Comment from a different viewer. If I had said that I was going to kill someone, I would be in trouble. So what is going to happen to the 8647, I'm sorry, but idiots? You used a different term, but I appreciate it, but I'm going to say idiots. I hope you don't mind my poetic license there. I wonder if he will be held accountable if anything happens to our president. And that's James Comey, but also the copycats. That's what Kash Patel was complaining about, because there's other people that think it's funny because, let's face it, James Comey did it. I can do it. Now, I don't think it was clever to begin with. And when Comey almost acted as if it was brilliant political commentary or something, remember, what was the term that he used that kind of made me cringe in a way? I hate that term. That he thought it was funny that the person must have been very artistic that did it. He had all these, I gotta say, and I'm not just being mean, James Comey has a really weird personality. And I just wonder if he wasn't liked as a kid that much, wasn't that popular, because he really, really wants to be liked by the Washington elite class of media people, those on the left. He really loves getting interviewed on MSNBC. But when you hear him talk, his lack of personality and lack of charm is just startling. Just awkward, maybe, would be even a better word. So yes, thank you for your comment. Comment from a different viewer. Colleges and universities receive twice as much money from the Fed than K through 12. Should be the other way around. But we have to reteach remedial math and English. Yeah, at these elite institutions. That's a very good point. All right, last comment in this section, but please keep them coming in. Yeah, I like this one. This one made me laugh out loud when I read it, but here we go. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. James Comey could make the shell thing go away if he'd write in the sand, frankly speaking, 6 to 8 on Fox. Let's hope that he does the right thing. I hope he does the right thing as well. Thank you for that. Very funny. Made me laugh this morning. Okay, everybody's in a good mood. I am too. Harvard President Alan Garber, who may start seeing the writing on the wall that they bit off a little bit more than they can chew. As a matter of fact, Trump, to also take poetic license with what Trump said, they're getting their butts kicked in this fight with the federal government. Harvard's got to behave themselves, he said yesterday. Harvard is treating our country with great disrespect, and all they're doing is getting in deeper and deeper and deeper. Trump added that he is looking out for Harvard and wants to see the university restored to greatness. How could it be great when you have Harvard announcing 2 weeks ago that they're going to teach remedial mathematics, to that viewer's point? Remedial, meaning they're going to teach low-grade mathematics, like 2 plus 2 is 4. How did these people get into Harvard if they can't do basic mathematics? How did they do it? Harvard has to understand the last thing I want to do is hurt them. They're hurting themselves. They're fighting. Columbia has been really, and they are very, very bad, what they've done, very anti-Semitic and lots of other things. But they're working with us to find a solution. And, they're taking off that hot seat. But Harvard wants to fight. They want to show how smart they are. And they're getting their butts kicked. He did not use that exact term. But yes, they think it's better for their brand. They actually think fighting the president and standing up for this anti-Semitism on college campuses and not standing up for the Jewish community on their college campuses is better for their brand, better for their, I guess for lack of a better term, legacy. But the Harvard President Alan Garber now admitting that lack of conservative views on his campus is a problem. Where would you give an interview to talk about this to prove that you aren't far left? Well, NPR. Right on brand. It tracks. Garber addressed the issue in a wide-ranging interview with NPR. When asked about the Trump administration's decision to freeze billions in federal grants due in part to anti-Semitism on campus, he said, "In my view, the federal government is saying that we need to address anti-Semitism in particular. But it has raised other issues and includes claims that we lack viewpoint diversity." He went on to say the elite school has been very clear of late that they do believe they have issues, particularly surrounding free speech. We think it's a real problem if, particularly a research university's students don't feel free to speak their mind, when faculty feel that they have to think twice before they talk about the subject that they're teaching. That's a real problem that we need to address. And it's particularly concerning when people have views that they think are unpopular. And the administration and others have said conservatives are too few on campus and their views are not welcome. Insofar as that's true, that's a problem we really need to address. So beating around the bush, not completely admitting it, and then asking if it was true, he responded, "I think that we have heard from some people that they do feel that way." So yes, so the answer should be yes, that is true. But instead, we've heard from some people. Well, how many conservatives are even allowed to be staff and faculty? Let's do those numbers. How many people donated or voted just for Republicans? I'm not even going to say for Trump, for Republicans that are hired by Harvard. That's one simple way of looking at it. But and this goes back when Jewish students say that they feel uncomfortable on college campuses and the administration brushes them off, the same thing is happening here. If conservatives are coming up to you and telling you they feel unsafe or feel that they can't express their opinions, then yes, it is a real serious problem. So we'll continue to watch that, but it should come as no surprise, though it is funny that he gave that interview at NPR, but there is a lack of diversity of opinion, and he doesn't completely admit to it, but does so in a very political way. Linda McMahon, the education secretary, said, "We want Harvard to negotiate. We're making great strides negotiating with Columbia, but we want them, Harvard, to come to the table. Let's negotiate." And finally, on Fox and Friends, Harvard professor of bioengineering and applied physics, person's name's Kit Parker, said that it's best if the Trump administration and Harvard administration meet and try to resolve the conflict, saying that providing the Trump administration with a list of foreign students is perfectly reasonable, it's fair, and I think it's prudent. All right, when we come back, we'll tell you what SUNY has to say about Trump's decisions regarding universities. Also, if you are just joining us, if you are waking up, breaking last night, the majority of Trump's signature tariffs have been blocked by the Federal Trade Court, a 3-judge panel at the Court of International Trade in Manhattan. And also, I think the media is making a much bigger deal out of this than necessary. But Elon Musk announced the end to his time in the Trump administration and Doge. But if you follow the law, you know that a special government employee only has so many days, and his time was running up. I think we figured it out, was May 29th or May 30th. So again, this isn't a surprise, but the media is trying to make a bigger deal out of it to show that maybe there's a rift or there's some problem behind the scenes. And I think, as normal, the media trying to overhype to show drama around Trump or to paint Trump or Musk in a negative light. But we got to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Migraine strikes. Do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take if allergic or with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after. Side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie could help you save on Ubrelvy.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDC. Our beautiful view of historic Marcus Street in the Gaffer District, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson's studio. Comment from a viewer regarding Harvard. Its claim to fame is its law school. Given that Harvard's bigotry has come to life, and in view of its claim to fame, it will be a hilarious, gut-wrenching laugh when the law professors at Harvard lose in court. They are definitely playing with fire. Yes, thank you very much for that comment. How is SUNY here in New York State responding to the Trump administration? Well, City and State New York interviewed SUNY Chancellor John King. And he said, "I'm most concerned and distressed that they," meaning the Trump administration, "seem to be walking away from the idea that education is a national imperative. And I think that's a huge mistake for our economy and our national security. The two areas that are most potentially harmful to SUNY are the approach to research and their approach to the federal financial aid system. In terms, and I don't want to go into specifics of that. That's where he finds those to be the biggest issue. But They asked, last year with Gaza protests going on across the country, there was some high-profile Sunni campus encampments. How do you as chancellor balance a commitment to freedom of speech while also making sure people feel comfortable on campus? He said, well, for us, we are 100% committed to campus environments that are safe and supportive, campus environments that are free from harassment and discrimination, and we are also committed to higher education being a place where there is robust debate about ideas. What is so unique about Trump and really brilliant about Trump is that he got this on real quick. He's got, hold on. He's got some, got a little lag this morning. Sorry, it happened a couple times. But what I was saying was, Trump is brilliant on this because he's got the conversation going and making Harvard, the president there, announce, even though it was wishy-washy, that there was a lack of diversity when it comes to viewpoints. He's got the conversation going because, again, before Trump started highlighting this, would you have heard the chancellor of Sunni come right out and say they want to support a place where there's robust debate about ideas? Because that conversation wasn't happening during the Biden administration. It wasn't happening before. It was among conservative circles and conservative organizations, but not in the mainstream media. Now it is being made clear that these colleges support robust debate. I don't believe they actually do, but with the window dressing, they're at least saying they are. Continuing what the Sunni chancellor had to say, the way we accomplish both of those objectives is to have clear content-neutral time, place, and manner restrictions. So you have the opportunity to protest, but you can't yell through a megaphone in front of your classmate's dorm window. You know, you have the right to communicate your views, even if they are views with which I strongly disagree, but you don't have the right to block your classmate's path to the library. And you know, we have enforced these content-neutral time, place, and manner restrictions. Why is everything in academia so, I don't know, content-neutral time, place, and manner restrictions? That's what you label it? Anyway, we've also done training for all Sunni faculty and staff on Title VI, the Civil Rights Protection Act, against discrimination and harassment. Our board recently adopted a policy to name a Title VI coordinator on every campus, and we will also require leaders of student organizations and students who work in resident life positions to do Title VI training starting this fall. So we've really leaned into civil rights enforcement while continuing to protect the First Amendment and civil discourse. I'd also say we've been very clear that we condemn the horrific Hamas terrorist attack of October 7th, and we will have no tolerance for anti-Semitism on campus. All right, we got to take a short break. I see a lot of comments. Oh, a lot of waves coming in. We're getting big waves this morning. Appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Wrapping up our number one. Stay with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story.
Thank you to Boss Security for our beautiful view Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Let's wrap up hour number 1 with some viewer comments. Good soggy morning, Frank. Yes, good soggy morning to you as well. I'm just trying to figure out how the judges can override the president. Why can't he fire them? Doesn't the president count for anything anymore? It's just ludicrous to me. I don't understand. I think many of us are grappling with trying to understand it. Why, in a different way, this happened during the Trump's first term, where we said we finally won one, and he's in there. And what happened? Not only did the media, the Democrats, and sadly many Republicans at that time work against him to stop that agenda, and it was very frustrating. And they created these fake scandals, and Russia, all that. This time, and this is why I would say, kind of just sit back and relax, because I believe confidently that Trump went into this term prepared for this, had 4 years to kind of study what he had done the 4 years before and be prepared. So I believe he had the confidence going in there, that he has in the back of his mind, knew this was going to happen and was ready for it. So I think there's something to be said about that. So I think you, me, so many others are more surprised, more frustrated than Trump is. Because I think Trump was prepared for this if he got back into the presidency, because not only did he have to deal with it in his first term, he had to deal with the lawfare in the 4 years he wasn't in office. So if that doesn't prepare you for what lies ahead, I don't know what does. And that's why I think with this, but I understand your frustration. I think when this goes to the Supreme Court, he'll be ready. Okay, and this is in reference, if you are just joining us, just waking up, Trump's signature tariffs blocked by the Court of International Trade. And that's why Mark writes in, I wonder how much Hochul is behind this 3-judge panel stopping Trump's tariffs. I'll be willing to bet she pushed them. I don't know, Mark. I mean, time will tell. I don't think Hochul, I'm not saying this rudely to you, Mark. I just don't think she has the foresight. I don't think she has the political mind to think that far ahead. You may be right. I can understand why you would think the worst. I just don't think she's got that kind of, 3 steps ahead mentality. But it is based in Manhattan, so I think it's just the liberal mindset of Manhattan. I think it's just liberal judges, right? Because that's why so many of Trump's lawfare cases against him were tried in Manhattan, why you'll often find judges that are activists using the lawfare, weaponizing the judicial system from Manhattan. So I understand why you would think it could be Hochul. I just don't think she's to that level. And maybe I underestimate her. Maybe I do. I just don't see her making calls behind the scenes to push this. I see people in her party that are on the varsity team while she's on the JV team maybe pushing it and making those calls. I just don't see it being Hochul. But we can agree to disagree, or you can yell at me. Either way, Mark, I'm fine. But I appreciate everybody's comments. We're wrapping up hour number 1. Stay with us. Hour number 2, mere moments away. We're having a blast this morning. Don't go anywhere.
I would never forget the picture that I have. I'm the only one that's not smiling. Even though I'm with my close friends, I felt alone. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. When I got Invisalign, I built my confidence. It was the best investment that I could do.
William Mattar has earned a reputation for being a straight shooter.
Because I am a straight shooter.
For being honest.
Here's what we're willing to pay.
Because I am honest.
For winning a lot.
Because we win a lot.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Mattar. Visit williammattar.com.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
It's the 20 Cardboard Boat Regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. In just a few moments, we're going to hear from Gary Decker with the Great Falls Council, so don't miss out on that. That's about 10, 15 minutes here. Also this morning, we've been talking about, if you are just joining us or just waking up, the Court of International Trade in Manhattan, a 3-judge panel, has decided they know better than the American people and what they voted for, what the agenda is, and has blocked Trump's signature tariffs, the tariffs that went into effect on Liberation Day. We're going to talk about that in just a second. And the other big story of the day, though it should not come as a surprise, and I know it doesn't to anybody that watches Frankly Speaking because we highlighted it, that Elon Musk's time in Doge and the Trump administration is coming to an end because, by law, the time has run up to be a special government employee. Let's go to some viewer comments. One viewer writes in, one way to help curb the illegal bigotry on college campuses is to print and broadcast the names and addresses of the bigots in order to mark and shame them for what they really are. If you recall, they did do that in the early days of the encampments, but one of the problems is, and I understand, it's if you can track them down, because that's why they've been so supportive of wearing the face masks, or what, supportive is not the right word, but why they've wanted to wear the face masks, because they don't want to be seen. That's why I've said on this program, or they don't want to be known, because they don't want this to happen. But that's why I've said so often on this program, that's why I think a lot of these degrees, even for those that are innocent, that did not protest, did not get involved in anti-Semitic protests, maybe abhor anti-Semitism, but it will negatively affect them, like it will affect other graduates of Columbia, for instance. We'll use Columbia. Because when they go to that employer, say, hey, I just graduated. Here's my degree. I did great. I did great at Columbia. Well, the employer is looking at it and saying, I don't know. What if 5 years from now, even, it comes out that, oh, they found that photo of you at an anti-Semitic protest? They're not going to do the research. They're not going to want to scour the internet and social media. So it's very easy to push that aside for a candidate from a school that wasn't so known for anti-Semitism. So there is something to that effect. All right, comment from a different viewer. I don't like that I'm so down on teachers, but I do admit I've lost respect for the most part. Where are the teachers? Why aren't they speaking out? They can't all be following this nonsense like lemmings. Where are they even locally, other than at the congressman's office protesting? Don't any of them have the fortitude to stand up for themselves, let alone the students they claim to care about? I realize groupthink is taken over their minds like a cancer, but do they all fall in line? It's hard for me to believe that they are all of the same mindset. But if I'm wrong, it really is game over. That's a really interesting question, because we've talked in the past about, for instance, students on college campuses. They're not 100% liberal. So let's say you're in a class and you're a conservative. You know that if you write a report, an essay, give a speech, whatever the project may be that shows support for conservative values, you're not only going to be ostracized by your friends and not invited to that keg party or whatever the case may be, but unfortunately the grown-ups in the room, the professors, could very much go after you, could very much, what's the word I want to look for, challenge your future by giving you a bad grade, by attacking your future, by giving you a bad grade because you have conservative values. So many people, and I don't knock any student on college campus at that young age that is fearful of expressing conservative values because of so many repercussions on college campuses. I know you're saying, well, you've got to fight, and I agree. I wish they would. But at the same time, that is a tough battle. That's how far left the universities have become. And remember, the grown-ups in the room, that would negatively affect their futures by giving them poor grades, blacklisting them for certain events, certain opportunities. So I think that could be a little bit what's happening with some teachers. Because no, not all teachers 100% can be liberal, but you're getting a paycheck, you're doing your job. Do you really want the unnecessary drama of saying you support Trump or saying you support conservative values? But a lot of it probably too is you've got to figure they've been in academia literally their whole life, right? From kindergarten all the way through college, and then getting right back into it on the other side, being a professor, whatever level you're talking about, or a teacher in K through 12. So it could be all they know as well. So that's a really deep question. I understand your maybe jadedness, your down in the dumps attitude. Thank you for that comment. Keep them coming in. So, as we said, the majority of Trump's signature tariffs have been blocked by a federal trade court. And I'm not going to read all their comments and what they had to say. It's a 3-panel judge that decided they know the agenda, I guess, that the American people really want, not the one that was overwhelmingly supported in the November election. These are the Liberation Day duties on April 12th. Now we know there was different levels. I don't want to read all of that. That gets a little wonky. But Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Stephen Miller tweeted out yesterday, the judicial coup is out of control. And I like that term because it is, we've used lawfare in the past, but it is kind of a judicial coup where you have on so many different levels these judges that, again, are saying that they're more powerful than the President of the United States or have more say in policy than the President of the United States. So I think that's a really good way. And Stephen Miller has a way with words on things, doesn't he? The judicial coup is out of control. Now, you know how they got the tariffs in the first place. I don't want to go through all that. But guess who had to weigh in? New York Attorney General Letitia James said a court just ruled in our favor and permanently stopped the Trump administration's illegal tariffs. This is a major victory for working families, business, and the rule of law. So Letitia James, still not realizing, because of her excessive use of lawfare against President Trump before he was president for the second term, those 4 years in between, really was one of the reasons that so many people overwhelmingly supported Trump. We had, and I know it's anecdotal, but we had that one instance of, was it Randy Quaid, the actor, saying that, I might not even like Trump, but I don't like some attorney general or some judge tell me who I can and cannot vote for, or using the judicial system against a candidate. Because let's face it, a lesser man would not have been able to stand that. Someone that didn't have Trump's money or his, we'll say, confidence, wouldn't have been able to handle, first of all, the first 4 years of his presidency, let alone the lawfare used in the 4 years off, because it would destroy most people. Let me ask you this: if you don't agree, do you think Romney could have handled this? But don't think for a moment this isn't the precedent that's been started. That this is what they'll use, especially if it works. That they'll continue to use this on all future Republican candidates and presidents. Now, Amy Klobuchar was on MSNBC, senator, former presidential candidate. She was asked by Lawrence O'Donnell, Trump-hating Lawrence O'Donnell, I know this is a big night for Minnesota with Canada as your biggest trading partner next door. You were up in Canada last week. You have a whole new discussion now to be had with Canada. None of Donald Trump's tariffs apply anymore. Klobuchar said, we do, and I will say, number one, you and I have been nerding out on this over and over again, explaining how this is unconstitutional. Now you have these 3 judges and how rich it is that 2 of them are Republican appointees. Why is that rich anymore? That just seems to be commonplace, even at the Supreme Court level in some instances. I mean, to say rich is, apparently not paying attention. One by Donald Trump and one by Ronald Reagan. Yes, they still exist. And they have unanimously, as you noted, struck this down. And basically, they've said the president isn't king. Congress has authority over tariffs, even though Congress has delegated some of this. The president has been using a law that doesn't even mention tariffs. I think when you think about us, our country, we fought a war of independence, Lawrence, to get out of having a king set tariffs against us like Boston Tea Party world. And so here he has come in thinking he can do this when the Constitution says in Article 1, Section 8, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duty, imposts, and excises. So that's what this is about. So he's not a king. David Axelrod had a take on this, and I'd like to hear your opinion on that take. He said, Trump loves tariffs. We know that he thinks it's a cure for all of America's problems. It will, raise revenues. It will bring jobs flowing back here, manufacturing jobs. It will restore American respect and balance and all this. But, in a weird way, in the short run, I think it creates a lot of havoc because everyone's trying to figure out when this in the long run, it could have saved him from himself. Okay, and this got cut off in some way. What he's saying is this could save him from himself because these tariffs are bad economic policy and these tariffs could raise costs on Americans. So knowing what Axelrod is insinuating is that Trump wouldn't back down from this because that's not in Trump's nature. So maybe this judge protected him. These judges protected him from himself is the argument he's making. David Axelrod, worked in the Obama administration, just giving you all sides and trying to get all perspectives so I can hear your opinion on it. But they're already starting to, and so if the result of this is he's stymied and doing something that's going to raise costs for people, it may be a black eye, but it may also be a break for him. Your thoughts on that? But we got to take a short break. Then we've got one more segment before we hear from Gary Decker. I see a lot of comments coming in, so keep them coming in. I'll read them when we come back. Stay with us.
When you think swimming pools, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's offers expert advice, professional service, and a complete line of chemicals and accessories. Replacement liners, motors and pumps, automatic vacuums, skimmers, ladders, steps, and more. Hesselson's has it all. Do you have a chemical question? Come in for Hesselson's free computerized water analysis and the widest selection of chlorine and specialty chemicals. With Hesselson's help, you can clean up any pool problem and swim in sparkling clean water. Let Hesselson's show you how easy it can be to take care of your swimming pool. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If you take or have taken Humira for moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis and still have symptoms, you don't have to settle. Ask your gastroenterologist if switching to Rinvoq is right for you. It's one of the latest treatments from the makers of Humira. Rinvoq works differently than Humira and may help. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that can deliver rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and helps visibly reduce damage of the intestinal lining.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events: infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Rapid symptom relief and lasting steroid-free remission are possible with Rinvoq. Ask your gastroenterologist if switching to Rinvoq is right for you. You could pay as little as $0 per month.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We have so many comments coming in as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. I'm just trying to put them all together. I am not skipping anybody. I just may not have a chance to put them in the form, but I will get to them later on in the program. So let's get to as many as we can. Mark writes in, I'll respond by saying Trump and Hochul are basically at war. So why wouldn't she support this 3-judge panel in Manhattan? Oh, I agree, Mark. I'm sure she wholeheartedly supports it. I just don't think she has the political power to urge this panel to come to this decision. So maybe I misunderstood what you were saying. But no, she, of course, wholeheartedly would support it. I'm sure. Maybe she's released a statement on it. I just don't think she thinks 3 moves ahead to kind of start that into motion. That's all. Ken writes in, I agree with you that Hochul herself didn't take the initiative to push the judges to block Trump's tariffs, but I would believe that her handlers directed her push the judges. Oh yeah, that her handlers helped push the judges. Yes, and many of these power brokers behind the scenes that we don't even know about. Hochul is just a mouthpiece for the behind-the-scenes Democrat handlers, just like Biden was. Yeah, so at a higher level, I agree, Ken, and that's kind of what I'm saying too, Mark, is that is not Hochul. She's not the kingmaker. She's not the power broker. I think there were people pushing these judges in that direction that also these same people push Hochul into some of the decisions she makes. But I think at the end of the day, Hochul doesn't have that kind of foresight. Comment from a different viewer. I would extend the term coup to include Democrat congressmen and senators. Good point. That's in reference to Stephen Miller saying that basically this is the continuation of a judicial coup where the judges are saying they have more power than the president of the United States. This is a great comment from a different viewer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Boston Tea Party was not about tariffs, but was about taxation without representation. Great point. A weird comment made by Klobuchar. But Klobuchar is another odd character. But why I think that's funny is because she said how much they were nerding out over this. Nerding out because she wants to be hip and cool. I don't even think that's hip and cool. I think she's just trying to be clever. Nerding out, trying to tell everybody how it was unconstitutional. Explain, not tell, explain. I would even use the term lecture, right? Why not lecture? You and I, meaning her and Lawrence O'Donnell, have been nerding out on this over and over again, explaining how this is unconstitutional. So nerding out to me would be like studying it. Some people use wonky, studying it, trying to explain it to people, really knowing maybe too many of the ins and outs, so it gets boring. And yet she gets the whole point wrong by talking about the Boston Tea Party that, as you said, had to do with taxation without representation. So thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Thanks, I understand your reply. Oh, this is in reference to teachers. But this is why we are where we are, in my opinion. I worked in the education arena, and I understand it from both angles. But doing nothing almost makes it legitimate and acceptable, and it becomes a truth like telling a lie long enough. I took risks, and it wasn't easy. And I did get pushed back and eventually encouraged to take a buyout. But sometimes you have to make the tough decisions. But a few won't make a difference. It takes masses. I agree. Listen, I don't know if I was clear or not. I agree. The people that stand up, what was Turning Point USA when they were doing that on college campuses? So brave. And I know there are people that speak out that are proud of their conservative values. But I'm with you. It does take masses. But that's why I'm so encouraged by Trump getting this conversation going. Because unfortunately, people kind of hide their heads in the sand and don't realize how bad it is on college campuses. You know, in the past, when you thought college campuses, what do you think of? Like Animal House, right? The keg party, the toga party. And that was kind of the cool thing to do, to go to these parties. Now the cool thing to do is to be the most radical, be the most, what's the word I'm looking for? The most aggrieved, the most persecuted. That's what makes you cool on college campuses. It's not having the most people come over to your house for a party. It is being the most radicalized, being the most anti-Semitic. And that's why they want to take pictures at these events. That's why they want to be seen as being the one that, being the person that does the most to push that agenda. That's why we have students change their commencement speech to talk about Gaza, because then they realize, look, everybody in the room, they can't compete with me. I just went one step higher. That's sadly where we're at. So I know I'm going on kind of a tangent here, but to your point, And it's a great point. It does take people speaking up, and that's why I know right now we're talking about college campuses, and you may be talking more about K through 12, but this has started the conversation going even further, and got in the conversation. This is important, just outside of conservative circles, because that's where it really was at one point. Now it's going to the mainstream media being forced to talk about it, where people on the left will see it. And listen, no matter what you say, not everybody. As Van Jones said, it's a marbleization of the Democrat Party with anti-Semitism. But there are many, many in the Democrat Party that think it's abhorrent, this anti-Semitism. So it opens the eyes, I think, to people saying, wait a minute, really? That's a kind of percentage of conservatives in the faculty? Nothing? Essentially nothing? So there's no robust discussions. So I'm just glad I got the conversation going so that eventually there is a mass of people saying enough is enough. I'm a conservative. I'm going to feel free to talk about it on college campuses or as a teacher in K through 12. Not lecture kids and not propagandize. That's not what the conservatives are doing. It's what the liberals are doing. The conservatives just want to say, we can have the discussion. Can we have the conversation? That's all we're asking for. That if you're going to present something as being 100% right, can I say, well, no, this is where I disagree, or this is how history shows us? I know I could talk about this all day because it's such an important topic. Before we go to break, and coming up after the break, we're going to talk with Gary Decker from Great Falls Council, and talking about the Scouts and the important life lessons in the Scouts. Kind of appropriate for what we're talking about today, as we talk about building up community, as we talk about maybe creating a different mindset than what we're seeing on college campuses. This is a great start by joining the Scouts. One last thing. The freed Israeli hostage, Omer Shem Tov, 22 years old, revealed that his Hamas tormentors, quote, immediately treated him better when President Trump was elected, and claimed the group of terrorists wanted Kamala Harris to win the 2024 election. He told CNN, and I can't believe they published it, as soon as Donald Trump was elected, they understood that he wants to bring the hostages back home. So immediately the way they treated me changed. When Trump became president, the way they treated us changed for me personally. His captors provided him with more food while they stopped cursing at and spitting on him. He credited Trump for getting the hostages released as part of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas earlier this year, before we felt like nothing is happening. And I remember ever since he came into the role, they were very scared of him, said Shem Tov. They wanted Kamala to be chosen, citing specifically conversations he had with his captors. Before Trump got in there, I was being starved. There's no question about it. Just a kind of an interesting little tidbit, something that I'm surprised CNN reported on, but you're not hearing elsewhere. Oh my goodness, look at all these comments. We're going to have an interview when we come back, but after the interview, it's about 10-minute interview. Then when we come back, we'll read your comments, which may start filling up the whole hour, which I love it. It's been a talkative day. It's been a fun day. Stay with us. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I have diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardiance, at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Heselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. Joining us in the Heselson studio, Gary, this is your first time on the show.
It is. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for your debut. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm sure you get this question all the time. Explain to us what the Great Falls Council is, what the merger was. Let's start from the bare minimum.
Absolutely. The Great Falls Council of Scouting America is the Boy Scout council that represents the scouting program throughout 15 counties in the Twin Tiers and Western New York. It provides the scouting program Cub Scouts, Scouts BSA, Exploring, Venturing, Sea Scouts throughout that area to more than 5,500 young people.
Wow.
And more than 2,000 volunteers throughout that area. So the merger happened in November 1st of 2024. Okay. It brought together the predecessor council, the Five Rivers Council, which was down here based in Elmira for 40, 50 years.
I was going to say for as long as anybody remembers. Yeah,
a long time. Yes, absolutely. And I previously actually served in that council. A great experience and wonderful scouting program down here. It brought together the Five Rivers Council and the Western New York Scout Council, which is based in Buffalo and also services kids in the Batavia area.
Okay.
And it was brought together to really expand and increase the scouting program opportunities for our kids. That was our number one goal. How do we provide a stronger and better program for our youth members?
Yeah. And what did the merger encompass? How long was this whole idea from beginning to fruition? How long did it take?
Yeah, probably about 6 to 8 months of discussions behind the scenes. Our boards had a series of conversations, first to see, did it even make sense?
Sure.
What were the pluses and minuses of doing a merger? Then formal merger study committees were formed. They met on a regular basis to look at all aspects of our operation, everything from not only the program we deliver to our kids, but staffing levels, operations, governance, financial resources, all that sort of stuff to make sure that it really made sense for everyone involved.
15 counties, that sounds like a lot.
It's a lot
of travel.
A lot of travel at times, right? We're blessed, we're a volunteer-run organization with staff support. So we have a staff team of about 20 people.
Okay.
But we're blessed to have more than 2,000 volunteers throughout the area who help us deliver the program.
Wow.
And so, but we also have 3 different offices. So there's offices in all of our primary communities. So there's one here still in Elmira, Buffalo, and then Batavia. Okay. So there's still the local community aspect that the scouting program has always had.
What did you find to be the biggest challenges with this merger?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges were just, taking a look at the geography, right?
Right.
How does it work, right?
Yeah.
And also the fact that, for years everybody was used to being their own separate council, and what does a council look like when it expands? Mm-hmm. I think the exciting part of that, though, was everybody quickly realized we could do so much more, right? Yeah. There were economies of scale that allowed us to really be able to diversify and truly be able to provide more programs to our kids than we could do independently.
What would you say, other than that you kind of just alluded to, what have been some of the positives as this has unfolded?
Yeah, from day one, I truly believe we provided more and better programs for our kids. There were just more opportunities for them. We also, like many organizations in a post-merger environment, we're struggling to have enough volunteers in all of our different committees and to support those programs. And all of a sudden, committees that were only 1 or 2 people were doubled or tripled in size, right? And so it gave us the opportunity to expand those and just have more resources available. Financially, it certainly helped as well. It put the council on a stronger financial footing than it was coming out of the COVID environment, which is challenging for most youth development organizations.
Sure. When you look back at the process, and I'm sure as we kind of joke, people have so many questions, how have you been able to get the word out about it, the merger, and maybe kind of, for lack of a better word, ease people's minds so they know exactly what it is?
I think the proof is always in the pudding, right?
Yeah,
it's
right.
what we actually deliver to our kids fundamentally, but through a variety of different ways. And one is like an opportunities like today, the opportunity you've afforded to us. And again, thank you for that.
Of course.
To get out and use media to our advantage, to talk, whether it be TV, radio, other forums. We've also done a lot of social media. We work really hard on social media, right? Because so many families get information from that. We do newsletters. We try to move our events around, really, so we can, because we recognize kind of coming in the middle for 15 counties is not easy.
Yeah, right.
But we've worked really hard on it. I would say it's a work in progress,
Sure.
right, as we continue to try to do more and more.
And that's a great way to lead into one of my future questions, but I'll ask it right now. What do you think the future holds for the Great Falls Council?
Yeah, I think we're just really starting to hit our stride, really trying to hit our rhythm now, right? The first 6-8 months, you're getting to know each other. You're figuring out the back office stuff, the stuff that's no fun. Right?
Right.
Now we're getting the stuff that's cool. You know, we have our first ever council-wide camporee scheduled for October.
Oh, wow.
We're excited about that. We hope to have more than 1,000 scouts all together for one camping event for a
That's
weekend.
impressive.
Should be a lot of fun. You know, I think you're going to see more and more as we share resources and we share knowledge. I think you're going to see our camp programs really elevate and become even stronger. And I just think our overall operations will get better, and I think we'll see more and more kids join the program.
I think like anything else, people are still, like to your point, getting out of COVID, getting back in that mindset that you can actually do stuff and not just stay in your pajamas all day. Though we all miss that to an extent. But you mentioned the camp, so nothing's changed essentially with the camps other than grown?
Yeah, so we're blessed to have 3 amazing camps. Camp Gorton, which is a traditional camp down here in Five Rivers Council on Juanita Lake, continues to be one of our strong summer camp programs. We have Camp Scout Haven, which is over in western New York, another large summer camp operation for us. And we have a smaller camp, Camp Sam Wood, which is just outside of Letchworth.
Okay.
And one of the cool things now is our kids can go to any of those programs, not only for summer camp experiences, but also for year-round, whether it be winter camping or other time of the year experiences. And each one of them has some unique aspects that really, so if a scout says, well, I've gone to that camp for 3 years, Mom, Dad, I want to go somewhere else. Great, we have opportunities for them. So
That's great, and I like the idea of expanding and just essentially growing.
Absolutely.
What has your history been with the Scouts?
Yeah, I'm blessed. I had the opportunity to grow up in scouting. I grew up in the Cortland area. I was a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout. I am an Eagle Scout.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I worked on camp staff when I was in grad school, and I didn't actually start working for the Boy Scouts until I'd done some other employment job opportunities for a few years. And then about 20 years ago, I actually went to work for the Boy Scout Council based in Binghamton at the time, and I worked there for a number of years. And I went on and worked in Rochester, and then I had the great pleasure to serve here in the Five Rivers Council as CEO and Scout Executive from 2016 to 2020. And left and went to Buffalo. And then for me, it was really the opportunity to come home and by joining together 2 amazing scouting families of the Five Rivers Council and at that time the Western New York Scout Council. So,
what drew you back into the Scouts?
You know, I had an amazing experience as a child. It was so incredible, and I never thought that I would do it. And I got back involved because my oldest son got involved in the program. Okay. I became a volunteer at the time, and like we joke, it's only an hour a week, right? Which it never is.
Never is.
Never is at all. But when you fall in love with the program, and quite honestly, I saw what scouting provided to my oldest son, the difference that it made in his life. And then when an opening came up at the council in Binghamton at the time, they called me and said, we'd like to have you come on board. I said to my wife, I'll go do this for 2 or 3 years and we'll see what happens. And 20 years later, here I am, right?
Not a bad problem to have.
Not a bad
Isn't
problem.
it funny how that works, though, sometimes?
It
Start as a volunteer.
I've been blessed. I've been blessed. It's an amazing organization. We work with such amazing, incredible young people who need our program, I think, now more than ever.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's why we talk on this program a lot about community, because there is a kind of a lack of community spirit in some instances. And I don't think anything exemplifies community better than the Scouts. I mean,
yeah, we like to
poster child for it, right?
We like to believe that, absolutely. I mean, one of the core values for us is to teach kids the importance of giving back and making a difference in their community. You know, community service is a requirement for all their badges at all levels annually, and not just the Eagle projects, even for our smallest Cub Scouts, for them to learn the value of, giving back to the community, and also earning their own way in life, which is really critical, I think, in today's world.
I would agree. Now, before we go, how can people get involved, whether that's adults wanting to volunteer, whether it's kids getting involved? What's the best way to start that process?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're always recruiting. I think we're different than a lot of other youth groups. A young person can actually join our program any day in the year, and
oh, really?
365 days.
Oh, okay.
Well, we primarily recruit kids in the fall, back to school season. Actually, you can join our program anytime. And we're always looking for youth and adult members, as you mentioned. The best ways to do it, we have over 330 units in every single one of our communities throughout our 15 counties. Wow. So the likelihood is that there's a scout troop in or pack in your area. Best way to do it is to go to one of two websites, either beascout.org website, which on that site you literally go in and you type in your zip code and identifies all the units in your local area within proximity to you. You can also go to our council website, which is gfcscouting.org, to find information there on how to join the program, if you're interested in our camps, if you're interested in supporting in any other way.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for giving us so much time this morning, and also best of luck with all the camps and all the fun of the merger as it unfolds.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Frank, and please come on out and visit us.
I will.
I'd love to have you.
I'd love to. All right.
Great.
Well, thanks again. All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
When you think swimming pools, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's offers expert advice, professional service, and a complete line of chemicals and accessories. Replacement liners, motors and pumps, automatic vacuums, skimmers, ladders, steps, and more. Hesselson's has it all. Do you have a chemical question? Come in for Hesselson's free computerized water analysis and the widest selection of chlorine and specialty chemicals. With Hesselson's help, you can clean up any pool problem and swim in sparkling clean water. Let Hesselson's show you how easy it can be to take care of your swimming pool. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And we're committed to keeping our lineup affordable and free from new tariffs. That's why we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder. So you can get the car you want, at the price you want, knowing Nissan is here for you at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now get a low $249 per month lease on Rogue, or get a low $339 per month lease on Pathfinder.
When migraine strikes, do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take if allergic or with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after. Side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie could help you save on Ubrelvy.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. I wonder if we got a nest being built up there. That's twice a bird almost flew into the Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. The big topic this morning, one of many big topics, the Court of International Trade in Manhattan blocking the majority of Trump's signature tariffs. Let's go to some viewer comments. And again, thank you to our guest, Gary Decker from the Great Falls Council, for clarifying that merger. Okay. Trump makes deals to save American steel industry partnership with Nippon. Keeps promise to America. Biden was walking away. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I actually meant to mention that on yesterday's show, and we ran out of time. Comment from a different viewer. Lack of tariffs is a major reason so many jobs went overseas. Corning Inc. was a perfect example. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer. I agree with your comment on professors. There's also the money. Some people are happy to maintain the status quo to pad their pockets. Yeah, don't think for a moment. Look at that lady. Now, this is not political, but the lady that lost her tenure at Harvard, but because she fabricated numbers, ironically, on a study on dishonesty, she was getting $1 million a year. So wouldn't it be very easy to go along for some people, when you think about kind of the lust for money, that it would be very easy for some people to go along with whatever the political belief of the majority is, just to keep that paycheck rolling in. Great point. Comment from a different viewer. Just say it, Frank. Hochul is not that bright of a bulb or not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I agree. I'm just saying she's not does not have the political prowess to push the judges, in my opinion, to make that decision against Trump and the tariffs. But I appreciate your words. Comment from one more viewer here before we move along. It seems that there are an unlimited number of judges running the country. It sure does, doesn't it? If it's all about who has the most judges, there needs to be fairness. Maybe the judge count should be determined by the Electoral College. Trump would have 86 more judges. Election results are meaningless without fairness. The problem with that is if we do it like the Electoral College, that means that everything about Trump will be tried in California or New York, like it already is in New York, for instance. But I'm not sure if that's exactly what you mean, if it's broken up in that way. But I appreciate your point, because you're exactly right. Election results are meaningless without fairness. Yes. Okay, I got to mention this. We're going to stick with the kind of the national scene for a moment. But wait till you hear this at the New York State level. 700 cows. Now, where am I going with this? 700 cows. That's the cattle threshold farms can hit before they need to apply for a large-scale, quote, concentrated animal feeding operation, or a CAFO permit. A bill introduced by Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal of Manhattan, who clearly knows about farming, and Senator Jabray Brisport of Brooklyn, would bar the state from doling out any more of the concentrated animal feeding operations. Again, from Brooklyn and Manhattan, saying that apparently farms should not be allowed to have more than 700 cows. This is what is happening in Albany right now. In a statement given to WWNY7 News, Rosenthal claims the move would benefit the environment and small businesses. So you have an Assemblywoman from Manhattan, Linda Rosenthal, and Senator Jabray Brisport of Brooklyn deciding what farmers should and should not do with their land. That decision's already been made in Albany when it comes to fracking. But now an industry that's trying to stay alive, telling them that they can have no more than 700 cows because of the environment and somehow small businesses. Jefferson County Agricultural Coordinator Jay Madison says they haven't done their research. They've never been on dairy farms. How dare they try to regulate something they know nothing about? One of Madison's major gripes is the notion that the bill would benefit family farms. A number of family-run North Country dairy farms already exceed 700 cows, and while the bill wouldn't take any cows away, Madison says it would clip the wings of up-and-coming dairy operations. Quote, even though we may think they're really big by Jefferson County standards, in the grand scheme of things, those are small businesses and very critical to the communities. Madison doesn't just disagree with these two lawmakers. He believes he can prove them wrong. If they really want to know what they're doing, I invite them to Jefferson County. I'll bring them to dairy farms. I'll tour them. Let's embrace the moo and bring them here so they can learn about dairy and all the good things that it does for our communities. The bill was introduced in March, so it remains to be seen if it's getting any motion in the state legislature. The way Albany works, I would not be surprised if it did gain some motion. So no longer issuing permits for farms to have more than 700 cows. That would be the threshold, because that is the brilliance of Albany, and specifically well-known farming experts from Manhattan and Brooklyn. I had to bring that to you when I saw it on Empire Report this morning. I know it's completely different than what we've been talking about this morning, but something to highlight on the program. Oh, by the way, a couple quick things about the Democrats. We've been talking about them trying to get their sea legs after the historic landslide loss in November, everyone wanting to be the face of the resistance. Many people believe, according to a poll recently, the overwhelming majority of Democrats believe that AOC is the face of the party. We know that Cory Booker wants that position so bad. And he had a filibuster. And I think it's very, I think this filibuster was actually really important because I think it shows what the Democrat Party is going through, because he talked for 25 hours and 5 minutes with absolutely no results. So a lot of hot air, a lot of bluster with absolutely no results. If that's not the Democratic Party in a nutshell right now, I don't know what is. But just to show you his want for fame and want for to be the face of the resistance, he's going to try to cash in on his record-setting filibuster with a new book called Stand. Okay? Is that a book that you will read? A new book, I guess, highlighting his record-setting filibuster called Stand, which, by the way, is a great song by Sly and the Family Stone. But St. Martin's Publishing Group confirmed on Wednesday that the book will hit shelves this November and will be a follow-up to his anti-Trump filibuster speech, which went for 25 hours and broke the record set by Senator Strom Thurmond. The book is about the virtues vital to our success as a nation and a lesson we can draw from generations of Americans who fought for them. Now is not the time to surrender to cynicism or abandon our most noble ideas. Now is the time to defiantly declare, like our ancestors before us, I too stand for America. So it's trying to capitalize on a speech that at the end of the day accomplished nothing other than, I guess, to get him a book deal. Coming out in November. And some of the weird things he said during that filibuster. Anyway, remember he talked about the Bills being the only real New York team and things like that. But benefiting off of his filibuster, I guess Booker's office previously confirmed the senator prepared 1,164 pages of material for his filibuster speech. So maybe it'll just be word for word what the speech was about. Well, luckily it comes out in November, just in time for Christmas for all your friends and loved ones. Let's take a short break. I see some more comments coming in. We're having a great time this morning. A lot of waves, a lot of comments. Keep them coming in. We're going to wrap up a few other discussions. But feel free to continue to weigh in on the Court of International Trade in Manhattan. A three-judge panel. We're having just too much fun. Deciding that Trump, his tariffs, went too far and blocked Liberation Day tariffs. But stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. So many comments coming in. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them in this segment, but we have one segment left. So let's get to some of these comments. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Good morning. Trump says we have the hottest country in the world, and he says if he would have been president, there would have been no war in Ukraine. But the election was rigged. Will he get real about the election? He lost. He's a loser that starts an insurrection at the Capitol and pardons people for doing it. I'm watching him at a press conference, and it's almost too much to take. He is so full of himself, it is nauseating. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. Yep, no kidding. That's for sure. 3/4 of the changes he is blabbing about will end up in court in the next 2 days and either be paused or reversed because he never looks at the law. I see his starting up on Canada becoming the 51st state. He just needs to stop. Canada said Canada isn't for sale, never was for sale, never will be for sale, so stop. I will say, though, to your point, Rick, I'll keep going here, but that's what we're talking about with these activist judges. So you can look at it as if it's going against the law, but I don't think that's been proven in every instance. I think it's activist judges, but I'll continue. I see the big guy is still on pardoning binge. The way he uses the power is not the intent of the power. Let me ask Rick then, if you don't mind me interjecting, was the intent of the pardon power to give your family members immunity for a 10-plus year or 10-year window? Was that the original intent, or did Joe Biden set the precedent that now, and remember there was a lot of Democrats at the time that were very upset about the precedent that Biden set, but that has now created this scenario that you are now denouncing, if you will. The Cupid dolls got pardoned today, and they took people and the banks out of $30 million, and they don't owe a nickel. Maybe tomorrow the scholars that treated the governor of Michigan, scholars that threatened the governor of Michigan, who Trump hates, will get released. Anybody that has an issue with what college kids are saying about Palestinians in Gaza needs to watch the news and the video of these people fighting with every ounce of their being for a bag of food. It's sick. Netanyahu is a monster. Rick, I'll never agree that intimidating destruction of college campuses, intimidating Jewish students, and making Jewish students feel unsafe is ever justified, no matter how upset these videos make you. But I'll continue. Whoa, Nelly, the news just keeps rolling in. The Liberation Day tariffs just got stopped by the courts. Yes, we've been talking about that. I got to kind of, it's a little long, Rick, and I know you admit that at the end of this. I'm sorry. I just got to keep moving. Yeah, I got to keep moving. Sorry for being so long-winded, but Donald outdid himself today. Okay, thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Comment from a different viewer. Wow, we're running late. We're smarter than Albany, Frank. If I'm over on my cow numbers, I'll keep the overages at your house and work from there. Get out your boots. Yeah, I don't know how many. Well, you could probably get a few. I don't think the neighbors would like it. But anything I can do to help. And that is about the bill being pushed in Albany that could perhaps limit any farm to 700 cows. Comment from a different viewer. Regarding the 700 cow limit, I watch the Farm Journal every Sunday, and the topic of what the impact of cow manure has on the environment was discussed a couple weeks ago. The environmental expert that was interviewed plainly stated that the impact on the environment, if any, was negligible, essentially indicating that these geniuses who claim otherwise were full of manure. Yes, those farming experts from Manhattan and Brooklyn. Finally, seeing that Hochul is not the brightest bulb in the room, she's probably watching your show and the bulb is getting brighter. So she might take credit for getting the judges to stop Trump's tariffs. That's a fair point. She didn't think about it ahead, but maybe now can take credit. Okay, we got to take a break. We'll read more of your comments. But one thing, Jake Tapper did admit that Biden's cognitive decline cover-up likely worse than Watergate. I can't remember if we mentioned that the other day. There's a really good piece by Isaac Shore at the Post we won't have time to get to, but the Joe Biden scandal cover-up, bigger than Watergate, as we said long before Jake Tapper said it on this program, set off a Democratic civil war that will tear the party to pieces. But we got to take a break. Stay with us. We'll read your comments. Get those last-minute comments in. We're having a great conversation this morning. I really appreciate it. But I want to read them before we wrap up. Stay with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. vote on the daily question, and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/BigFoxNews.
Scamming is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams, Wednesday, June 4th at the Main Place in Hornell, New York, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and fraud watch tips. Also, the Steuben County Office for the Aging will provide tips on emergency preparedness, June 4th at 12 p.m. To learn more, go to steubencountiny.gov/235.
Migraine strikes. Do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take if allergic or with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after. Side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie could help you save on Ubrelvy.
Attention, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta. A day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Last couple comments before we move along and wrap up today's edition. As President Trump is beginning to bring global trade partners to the negotiation table, the courts and Democrats are attempting to throw a monkey wrench in the process. In 2024, Biden used executive action to raise tariffs on Chinese products coming into the U.S., and the courts did not get involved. The Democrats did not complain. If trade deals begin to fall apart, it will be the fault of Democrats and the courts for getting involved in a process that they should not be involved in. Democrats will do everything they can to try to sabotage anything President Trump is doing, not because they don't want better trade deals, but because they cannot allow President Trump to have any type of victory or success. And you raise a very good point. We saw that back in his first term. That's why they will try to sabotage peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, negotiations throughout the Arab world, and these trade deals. Their hate for Donald Trump is greater than their love of country. If you didn't complain about Biden's tariff increases or you didn't know about them, then your concern over Trump's is manufactured and fake. We will make America great again, whether the Democrats like it or not. All right. As we wrap up today's show, a couple of quick things we should probably get to. We've been talking about Trump's tariffs being blocked all morning long. And finally, no, we had a bunch to get to. But it does not look like we'll be able to get to all of them. But one of the issues we talked about with the big, beautiful bill, that there is an article that recently came out at the Wall Street Journal saying Democrats are proclaiming that the budget bill's modest Medicaid reforms are deadly, but the bill would improve health care by expanding private insurance options, which provide better access and health outcomes than Medicaid. Medicaid recipients have less access to doctors than Americans with private insurance because of low government reimbursement rates. Plus, most states farm out their Medicaid programs to managed care organizations which lack a market incentive to improve provider networks or deliver health care more efficiently. So just to give you an update on that. MS-13 gang members, child sex offenders, among the 40 illegal migrants busted as feds raided Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you for all the comments. What a great conversation we had this morning. I do also want to thank Gary Decker from the Great Falls Council for being our guest. Join us tomorrow and every weekday morning at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Look forward to it already.